peaceful village called Muta, life was quiet and uneventful. Children played by the riverbank, mothers gathered to sing, and the men returned from the fields and hunts with the setting sun. Yet there was one figure that cast a dark shadow over the peace of the village, an old solitary woman known as Mama Kali. Mama Kelly has been a part of Muta longer than anyone could remember, but most kept their distance as her presence seemed cold and unsettling, her gaze lingering a bit too long when she watched the village children play. With no family of her own, she lived on the edge of the village in a small crumbling hut and rarely ventured out. She was known by many, but loved by few. With eyes as cold as the desert nights and hands rough as cracked earth, Mama Kelly was feared. The villagers whispered about her, saying she had the power to do whatever she pleases, control the wind, and even steal from the innocent. But it wasn't those things that terrified most of them. It was a hunger for something much darker. Mama Kali longed for children. She had never born a child of her own, though many years ago she'd been married to a warrior from a neighboring tribe. One day, he went off to battle and never returned, leaving her to face the wrath of loneliness. Her yearning for a child, however, grew into something twisted, something unspeakable. Then, one fateful night, everything changed. On the other side of the village lived a beautiful young couple named Nia and Dan. They've been married for 5 years but with no children. They've tried everything possible to have kids until one day Nia discovered she was pregnant, and within a few months she had her baby. The couple were overjoyed and invited the entire village to celebrate with them. Of course, Mama Kali was not invited as she was feared by everyone. But with all the noise going on, she also became curious and walked for several minutes towards the direction of the celebration. As soon as she drew closer, she could hear the sounds of mothers welcoming a newborn. In that very moment, she felt the emptiness in her heart. She hid behind the bushes, watching as people trooped in and out of the premises. Over the next couple days, people could see Mama Kali hovering near Nia's home. It was so noticeable because she never go into the village. One day, Nia woke up to find her baby's cradle empty, the blankets tossed aside, and the night silent. She ran out of her hut, calling her baby's name, her cries piercing the darkness. Neighbors rushed to her side, but the baby was gone. The villagers tried to comfort her, brushing it off as a tragic accident, though many suspected the truth. Only a week later, another baby disappeared. This time, the young mother, Amara, woke up in the middle of the night and noticed the absence of her newborn. Panic spread like wildfire through Muta. Every mother became anxious, clutching her child tightly even as she slept, fearing that she too might wake up to an empty cradle. At first, the villagers thought it was a curse, maybe the work of nature, but it soon became clear that the children weren't vanishing. They were being taken by Mama Kali. Each time a child disappeared, Mama Kali's hut at the edge of the village would be filled with the sound of a baby's cries. The villagers were too afraid to approach her, though they had their suspicions. They'd see her standing outside her home, cradling something tightly wrapped in cloth, rocking back and forth as she sang lullabies into the night air. The cries reached the village elders, and it soon became a matter of serious concern. The village elders held a secret council, desperate to stop the madness. They sent a brave young hunter, Coffee, to confront her. One moonless night, Coffee ventured to her hut, carrying nothing but his courage and his spear tipped with iron, believed to defeat anyone. As Coffee neared the hut, he heard the soft coos of a baby and peered through the small window. Inside, Mama Kali sat, her hands tenderly holding a baby. When Coffee's eyes adjusted to the dim light of the fire, a chill ran down his spine. The baby in her arms was not flesh and blood, but a doll woven from dried grass and wrapped in animal skins. Yet it moved. It kicked its tiny feet, and its eyes blinked like any living child. Stilling his nerves, Kofi burst into the hut. Mama Kali! He shouted, his voice echoing in the small space. What have you done with the children? Mama Kali turned her head slowly. They are mine now, she said, her voice raspy as if she swallowed sand. They are safe with me. Kofi's heart pounded in his chest. They are not yours to take. The mothers of Muti weep for their babies. Mama Kali stood, her frail frame seeming to grow in size. Do you know what it's like to have a heart empty? To hear the wind howl through your soul, filling you with nothing but sorrow? I will not be alone again. They will stay with me. But Coffee did not waver. He pointed his spear at her. Return the children, or I will deal with you. Mama Kali gave a strange smile. You think it's simple, don't you? Take a child away from its mother, and it will forget her warmth, its family. But these children, she looked down at the doll in her arms, its limbs twitching slightly as though alive. These children were lonely just as I was. They wanted to be somewhere safe, somewhere quiet, away from the noise. Kofi's mouth was dry, his eyes fixed on the doll. Lonely? You're lying to yourself, Mama Kali. They have mothers who love them, families who are searching for them right now. Mama Kali laughed softly. And who searched for me, Kofi? Who took me in when my own family was gone? For a moment, silence stretched between them. Mama Kali's eyes, dark as night, softened. She lowered the grass doll and sighed, a deep, haunting sound. They are not gone, not forever, she said. I only borrowed them to fill the emptiness inside me. Kofi, sensing a glimmer of remorse, took a step forward. It's not too late. Return the babies, and perhaps the village will show you mercy. Follow me, she muttered, her gaze shifting past Kofi, looking into the darkness of the forest beyond her hut. Without another word, Mama Kali began to walk. Kofi followed, his eyes darting nervously between the shadows cast by his torch. The silence was deep, filled only by their footsteps and the distant rustling of leaves. The path grew narrower, twisting through dense thickets until they reached a secluded glen, hidden from the village and the world. She led him deep into the forest where the trees stood tall. There, hidden under the roots of an ancient tree, was a hollow. Inside, Kofi saw the missing children lying in soft grass beds, sleeping peacefully. They were unharmed. Mama Kelly watched as Kofi gently lifted the children one by one into his arms. Tears streamed down her weathered cheeks. I never meant to hurt them. I just needed to hold them. I just needed to hold a child, to feel that warmth again. Kofi, though understanding her pain, knew that what she had done could not be forgiven. You will leave Muta, he said, his voice firm but kind, and never return. Mama Kali nodded, her heart heavy. She knew that her time in the village had come to an end. As she disappeared into the night, Kofi carried the children back to their mothers, who wept tears of joy and relief. The next day, the villagers gathered around Mama Kelly for the first time, and she says she was ready to tell her story. Her voice steady, but the pain beneath her words was undeniable. Many years ago, she began, her gaze sweeping over the familiar faces. I was just a girl living on the edge of this village with my family. My father was a healer, skilled in the old ways. People would travel from far places for his herbs, his treatments. We lived a simple, happy life until she paused, as though gathering strength, her voice a bitter echo of memories long buried. One summer, a sickness swept through Muta, a sickness no one could cure. My father did all he could, but the people were dying, and the villagers needed someone to blame, especially the ones who were jealous of my father. They turned on us, accusing us of bringing this curse upon the village. They burned our hut, our possessions, everything we had. They chased us from Muta. My father tried to reason with them, but he was beaten and left to die in the wilderness. The villagers shifted uncomfortably, their faces paling as they recalled the distant tragedy they had willfully forgotten. My mother and I fled that night, alone and terrified. We wandered until she too fell ill. I tried to take care of her, to nurse her back to health, but she was gone by the time the rains returned. I had no family, no home, nothing but the memory of what you took away from me. The villagers stood in stunned silence as her words settled upon them like a heavy mist. For years, she continued, I tried to build a life in the forest far from here, but the loneliness grew, eating away at my heart, and the anger. She looked each villager in the eye, her gaze sharp and unyielding. The anger festered. I vowed you would understand what it felt like to lose something precious, to feel the emptiness I had felt. Her eyes softened as they fell upon the children she had taken. But even in my anger, I never wanted to harm them. I only wanted to protect them, to give them what I had lost: a mother, a home, and love. Her voice broke, and for the first time, tears spilled down her cheeks. As she looked up at the villagers, something in her expression shifted: a quiet sorrow, a plea for understanding. Now that you know my story, perhaps you understand. I only wanted the village to feel what I felt, but I see now my revenge only deepened the pain. In that moment, the village elders, hearing her confession, knew that they had created their own monster. It was a hard truth to bear, but they recognized that the cycle of pain could end with them, if only they chose it. They decided then not to sentence her, but to offer a path of redemption, a chance to rebuild in the village where she could be washed and perhaps even forgiven. And so, Mama Kali stayed. She lived quietly, planting herbs, helping others in need, the healer she was always meant to be. Though her scars from her past lingered, she found a small peace, and with time, so did the village. And under the ancient tree, the cries of babies were heard no more. The end. Hey besties, thank you for watching. Now tell me, did you think Mama Kali was right in her revenge? Did you think the villagers made a mistake in forgiving her? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. And I'm sure you enjoyed watching this story. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscription is